So we're here to talk about how AR, augmented reality, is going to impact your advertising, your marketing, how we believe this amazing panel of experts that AR is going to be an extension of your immersive advertising, your immersive marketing. So on this panel, have James from Verizon Business, Dom from SmartMedia Tech, Jenna from Niantic. My name is Noelle, and I run the marketing at SmartMedia Technologies. We're a Web3 SaaS platform. So we enable holdcos, agencies, enterprise clients to move into Web3, including AR and VR, with success. I'm going to hand to each of my panelists to just spend 1 minute speaking about their role within their organization and, the overall value prop of the company. James?
Hi, thank you for having me. So Verizon Business, we connect a lot of retail stores all over the world, and increasingly those stores are becoming connected as part of the online journey to driving footfall into the store. 5G is becoming more important now in terms of how you deliver experiential services, so looking to see how we can collaborate to make that a reality.
Yeah, hey everyone, my name is Dominic Di Talamo. Working with Noelle at SmartMedia Technologies, I look after the sales side of things across EMEA. My background is all things programmatic, and so I'm excited to help brands deliver outcomes leveraging the new era of Web3 technology.
Hi everyone, I'm Jenna Seiden. I oversee business development for Niantic Labs, and I'm going to be thrilled to see all of you on your phones, actually, because we're a mobile games company, most known for Pokemon Go. So if you're on your phone, I expect you to be playing at some point today, and we'll go from there. But I oversee all of the licenses for our first-party game studio, and then as we'll talk about a little bit today, we have a platform technology business for augmented reality, both a web browser-based business and a Unity-based platform for app development. Pleasure to be here.
So we're not just going to talk about these ideas. We're actually going to let you experience them. You'll see some cards on your table. Jenna wasn't joking when she said, please get your phones out. There's a QR code on that. That will onboard you into an experience to collect what is most probably your first AR NFT. There's a couple of different user flows. Once you get into that, you can collect different NFTs. They're going to be dropped in AR around you. One of them that you collect is redeemable for a cocktail at the brand Innovators Beach, just over there. A spritz, yes, it's delicious. So for no other reason, take part of the experience to get a free cocktail. And we'll talk about it a little bit more after this panel. But what's exciting about what I just mentioned is that with a partnership that we've announced this week with the Niantic team, the guys who built Pokemon Go, who have been leading the AR space for over a decade, is that we're bringing ownership to AR. So now you can experience AR through web AR, and you can collect and own these moments, a way to deepen community engagement. And so we are all excited about how Apple has announced the Apple Vision Pro, and we know that in emerging technology, certain trends come in and out. It was Web3 very much for the last couple of years. Then AI started to get a lot of attention. And now we are all excited about how Apple's announcement of this hardware is going to drive forward AR. So I'm going to pass to you, Jenna, first, because I think that some of the Apple Vision aligns with the thesis that Niantic has around AR, how it's going to become a part of everyday life. And I'd also love to hear from you, not just how that aligns with your vision at Niantic, but talking through a use case that you've seen that's been really successful in AR being implemented. I think Vans was, yeah.
There are so many to choose from. Thank you for reminding me of a good one. I don't know how many of you saw the announcement. You all heard about it. I don't know if you actually tuned in. We had a nerdy Los Angeles gathering. We all got together to watch the announcement. That's how nerdy we are.
Love it.
So the Apple Vision Pro it's a dynamic device. It's amazing. Don't get caught up in the price. Remember back in the day when Apple came out with their first products, they were crazy expensive. So we're going to see future versions of this heads-up display that will be much more approachable. But it's a fantastic device. It's really great. And at Niantic, again, just because most of you do have context of what Pokemon Go is, whether or not you've played it, we're all about the physical and digital world. So seeing Apple embrace augmented reality is really good for us. It's all about the physical and digital. And even though and again, I'm speaking with my Niantic hat on, we think games and technology are going to be the content that's going to drive all these platforms forward. We know that there are going to be enterprise use cases, there are going to be utility, productivity, travel. The last panel talked about great travel apps, which was great. So that's really good for us. The other reason we are excited about the Vision Pro is just because, think about it, these heads-up displays are going to need a map of the world. And I know a lot of you probably default to Google Maps, but here's a key difference between Google Maps and the map that we've been building, again, through Pokemon Go and our other stuff. You've seen in your neighborhoods the cars driving around. You're going to get a map of the world from the car's perspective. Niantic's built the map through people's, pedestrians' perspectives, and you're going to need that to be able to layer on these games, these enterprise, these utility apps. So that's what's really cool about Apple sort of helping spend the marketing dollars to promote this for all of us, which is pretty great. And then to your question about which retail experience, of the many, and my colleagues at our division called Eighth Wall, which is our web browser, web AR-based platform, they've done so many cool things. But I think Vans did something with us last holiday season where they have about 500 retail stores, and they were celebrating the holidays. And you could go scan a QR code, which is different than going through a very heavy friction process, frictionful, I don't know if that's a word, process to download an app. But you could scan the front of the store in the display. You would then be able to access a virtual item. You could choose one of those virtual items, and they were very much inspired by 3 different kinds of artists, music and other expressive creators. And then it would change the whole look of the window in the front. And then at the end, there was a call to action if you wanted to as well, to enter a contest, a sweepstakes for stuff. So if you can really leverage those real-world locations and engage your audience and give them a new way to interact with your brand, that's what we're all about, and we're seeing a ton of examples that way.
Absolutely. And I've seen, actually, it's a wonderful segue, James, to what you've been doing with retail locations at Verizon. And maybe it's also love to hear one of your top use cases, kind of comparable to what Jenna was sharing, and then also give some context to the audience about why Verizon is so active within the sort of emerging tech space.
Yeah. Thanks. So, I mean, as Jenna was saying, you've got these amazing AR glasses. They're going to need connectivity, otherwise they're just glasses. And that's really where we come into it. We kind of saw a very cool, I mean, it wasn't, we were involved, you were involved. The original Doritos PlayStation 5 campaign that you did, I thought was an amazing one. I mean, it's probably 3 years ago now. And what they were missing there, I thought, at the time when stores are becoming more experiential, and they're only becoming even more experiential now, is driving that ability to drive that footfall to the store. So we've created a Web3 demo with you, example, that we've shown to a number of luxury brands about how they then drive an immersive, amazing experience powered by, things like AR glasses as they come out of home, driving them to the store where they can then, their wonderful sales assistants can then show them other AR tech or VR tech to help upsell the basket or tell the brand story. And it's early days, but they're starting to, go down that pathway.
And Dom, you've been working closely on a project that is live currently, and it's live at one of the biggest shopping malls in London, and it's just that, using AR to drive engagement in football. Do you mind giving a few pages of the playbook?
Yeah, exactly that. Unfortunately, it's just finished as of yesterday, so have a little look.
Finished successfully.
Very, very successfully. But yeah, we work with William Hill Vegas and one of our good partners over at Wavemaker to bring addressability and measurement to out of home. And the way we did that is by creating the world's largest AR slot machine. So users across the entire UK could get their phone out, scan a billboard for the chance to play a virtual slot machine in AR, with the screen animating to denote that you've been entered into a trip to Vegas, or the chance to win a trip to Vegas. And so whilst that sounds like a really obvious engagement, it's had over 100,000 users in 10 days. So it solves a lot of challenges to out-of-home, namely first-party data capture, namely proving the value of out-of-home display. But crucially, it gives consumers a new way to engage with brands. And so reasons that PR, Adweek, Campaign Live picked it up, and I think it was your 5th largest played game in the month, gives test to brands and consumers really enjoying the process too.
So I'm guessing that was William Hill's first move into AR, or one of. I guess my question is this: when you're planning a campaign like that with a partner, what like, what are your tips for setting it up for effectiveness and for success?
Yeah, look, I think when you think about new tools, and I'm going to refer to AR as relatively new in the era of media, it's important to note that not every single tool is right for every single brand, right? And so it's important to work out first the outcome that you're trying to achieve. Is it a flash in the pan to create some PR, or is it some really exciting brand-worthy opportunities to deliver on outcomes? So I think for me, it's working with brands to decipher what they're trying to achieve, figuring out how we can create longer-term engagement platforms. So what we do over at SmartMedia Tech is create a vehicle facilitated via the wallet to allow for re-engagement time and time again, which adds value from a lifetime value point of view, but it means that we can re-engage with consumers time and time again because they've given their consent to us to do so. So to answer your question, figuring out what they're trying to achieve and then working out how we can elongate that as much as possible.
Right, because like the engagement and loyalty piece, which is it's a loyalty play, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now more than ever, marketing dollars are under scrutiny, and so delivering outcomes that deliver time and time again, both now and in the future, is a no-brainer for brands. And so if we can do that, leveraging techniques such as AR, leveraging technology such as Web3, really it's a no-brainer for brands.
And so is it for all brands, though, approaching loyalty and engagement through AR? And maybe, Jenna, having worked with probably more brands than anyone in the AR space, like, what's your point of view on that? Just kind of play the devil's advocate.
It's been a good thing that games and gaming are new discoverability platforms for brands, and that's fantastic. But I think a lot of brands entered the space, I may not say something appropriate here, for PR reasons. A lot of them jumped into Roblox or Fortnite, and they created worlds. And yes, it gave a lot of agencies business. Fantastic. Did it maybe get someone a promotion because they entered the space? Fantastic. But I'm not sure what the ROI was, to be completely honest. So I'm not a big fan of brands entering the space if they're doing it for a PR reason, to be completely honest, because you're spending money that could have been used elsewhere and actually drive some engagement. So number one, that's how I look at the filter. It's sort of like when I used to be an evil, awful Hollywood talent agent. I'm recovering. It's a 12-step program. I had a lot of directors when 360 video and VR came out, and they're like, oh, I'm going to tell this story in 360. And I went, why? Are you telling this story better? Are you getting more people involved? And they're like, oh, no, I announced it first. And, bothered me. But then if I flip it the other way, things like you were talking about, okay, how can I be effective, and how do you define that? Is it loyalty? Is it awareness? Is it footfall? What are those things that AR can do? And for us, I guess the key would be if you can really optimize that map using AR and activate it in such a creative way, and this is a zip code today, the last few days, of the most creative people I've ever seen. This is my first Cannes Lions. I've done other Cannes events. I'm blown away by the creativity and what people are doing here. It's amazing. And so if you can really optimize that map and use it to engage your audience for whatever your metrics are internally, then yes. But make sure you're doing it with a real goal. And even if you don't hit those, use that data, that learning, to inform your next thing. But I've never seen anything cooler than AR really help bring to everybody who's in this room stable, like another way to be creative and to achieve those ROIs.
And you work, James, with a lot of brands, retail brands, and there's one in particular I don't think I'm allowed to name, but it's one of the most well-known luxury clothing brands. And you work with them on the, what is your objective? How are we using this campaign, including emerging tech, to drive against those? And you use AR in all different kinds of ways: filters, virtual try-ons, wearables. How is that whole space going to evolve?
Very good question. I mean, a lot of luxury brands, as you know, they're investing in technology to understand authenticity and traceability, and they're embedding it already into handbags, shoes, trench coats, whatever it might be. But there's another side to it in terms of that utility engagement, around, do you have something you can wear into the metaverse now? If someone on the previous panel was saying Gen Z are spending a big chunk of time in the digital world, how do you show off you've bought a rather expensive pair of shoes that you want to wear in the metaverse, or a watch or a necklace or whatever, or a baseball cap? And then, could you create this community exclusive access where you unlock filters you can only get if you've got something genuine. And so if you've got a particular item and you monogrammed raindrops fall on you, and when you spray your perfect perfume, you know, roses fly out, whatever it might be, but you get that as being part of a community and exclusive access. And I think that's where they're starting to test, to your authenticity point. Can it be genuine? Can it drive the right experience? And does that increase loyalty and then basket size and that,
Yeah, and I think I get asked a lot by people who aren't in the space, like, so are we all going to be walking around with the Apple Vision Pro, not talking to each other? And what I see as the potential, and when it's done well, is that people are actually, there's community that's being built around these sort of tactics, and it drives deeper loyalty.
Yeah. I think really it's where you bridge the digital to the physical. So can you unlock an in real life amazing thing by driving that digital experience? And that's some of the things we've been talking to other luxury brands about. They've got amazing partnerships and collaborations. Could you do something amazing in gaming, in the metaverse, in the gaming platform? And if you're in the top 5 or 10, you unlock exclusive access to a genuine, you know, NASCAR, Formula One, you know, Wimbledon next week, or whatever it might be, to drive that community. I mean, I think that's where there's a real opportunity to do that, I think.
And that kind of leads me on the final point nicely, Jenna, into what we were talking about yesterday around the multiplayer experience. And maybe talk a little bit, because we know about that in gaming, but like, how can that be unlocked for maybe marketers? I guess you've talked about it a little bit, James.
We talked about community, and so obviously if you are an aficionado of any of the brands here, you're drawn to it, and you've got this sort of asynchronous community around the world. From a multiplayer standpoint, from a technology standpoint, you always want to activate the social features of your experience, because, right, the recommendation engine of your friends, that's what's going to drive you probably more so than anything else, or you want to share something with them. Or in our case, if you're walking around the neighborhood and I want to follow Noelle's food tour of Cannes, I can follow your food tour of Cannes.
Rosé tour.
I was about to say
Rosé,
tour.
please, thank you. Now Spritz tour from
Yes.
after collecting.
Mine would be the cheese and ice cream one.
Yeah.
Rosé to follow. But say you all want to do something together. We've created technology, and you've seen this in traditional gaming, where you're all in the same space and you can play together. We have a feature that used to be up to 4 to 6 people in one room playing or activating, and I don't need to get into the terminology of localization and all that stuff, but we can get 32 people now in one space, all sort of centering around an augmented reality sort of Pac-Man around this room, or going on a scavenger hunt together and all interacting with a digital asset that's within 5 centimeters specifically around this pole. I mean, it's really crazy things that you can do with that. So from a community standpoint, multiplayer standpoint, you're always thinking about your group, and that could be 2 people, could be 32 people, could be hundreds of people, right? And
right.
So, and then we have tens of millions of people in the games that we do. So it's you always need to be thinking about sort of community, even though I like to play games by myself and not get yelled at by 14-year-olds playing Call of Duty, which happens a lot. Yeah, in today's space, you need to be thinking about not a single player experience. You need to be thinking about the community and how you can bring in new people and how you can introduce people who share the same interests and connect through whatever that app game is.
Yeah, so it's like tactics to build community, and like back to Dom's point about advertising dollars being stretched. We all know that cost of acquisition is going up. So like the community piece and building that, it's something that I think no marketer, advertiser can avoid. With that, thank you, everybody. I'm going to pass it to each panelist to just give one takeaway. I know we've talked about a lot of concepts. For anyone who's interested to experiment with some of these technologies and with AR, what would be your one takeaway about how to approach the space?
My
Big question.
Yeah, my view, it's an ecosystem play, and sometimes you don't necessarily know the ecosystem that needs to come together to pull it off. And again, we came across each other kind of not randomly, but more by luck, I would say. But yeah, a lot of the stuff we do and our customers are doing is underpinned by us, but we need the ecosystem to unlock it. So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think make it accessible for everyone to play or to engage with. ensure that you're creating KPIs and outcomes that you're attributing the results to. And think long term, right? We know it's 7 times cheaper to retain a customer than win a new one. So think about loyalty and how we can re-engage that customer time and time again.
A lot of the augmented reality executions that you see are often the camera's turned towards you. They're filters and they're fun, but think about turning the camera away from you and look at the world. And again, that's how Niantic looks at things, but if you can maybe think about using augmented reality, both what's the experience for the consumer when they're back at home, and then also think about what it's like when they're out and about in the world. It doesn't have to be such a singular sort of claustrophobic experience. So think about it facing you and facing the other direction.
Love that. Right. Well, if anyone wants to experience some of what we've spoken about today, again, on the tables, just hold your phone up to the QR code. It's going to onboard you into a wallet. It feels like a web app. You'll be able to pick up AR NFTs. They'll be all along the Croisette. Some of them will unlock other prizes beyond just the drink at the beach. There's a pair of shoes, or 10 pairs of shoes, I believe, that we're giving away in the prize draw. Really cool shoe company, Leonardo DiCaprio. Shoes? They are. Yeah, they're Leonardo DiCaprio's brand. And you'll be able to also get a Fedora wearable. So kind of what we were talking about with the AR wearable, or you'll be able to get one of those. So check it out. Thank you so much. Thank you to my panel. You guys were awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.